great. So for the next, we have 4 days next week before Veterans Day, and then we have one more day before we take A&A. And so for the next 5 days, I wanted to talk about arithmetic patterns, which is something we actually have never really taught in 3rd grade. We've always been in the past like, well, you'll just kind of see them and they'll come up and you'll try your best. Partly because it's very hard to teach arithmetic patterns. And so you're going to see that in these lessons here, but I think it's important, you know, now that I've been in this job for 4 years, to actually really teach all the standards, so we're going to try it. One of the things you'll notice is that there isn't a whole lot of guided practice because it's not that kind of standard. It is like a give it a try and let's talk about it kind of thing. But anyway, it'll be great. So we're actually not going to start with that in the very first day because a few people asked me about correcting other students' reasoning and just getting that more practice with that. And so we're going to use what?
Dr. Ew.
Dr. E or you, depending. And so yeah, this is very straightforward. Like this board is meant for you to generate some prior knowledge, right? What are the steps for correcting someone else's work? What do those steps mean? So you do that review, right? You know, hopefully someone says Dr. Ew or Dr. E, and then you talk about each of these. You might remind them about what you saw on that very low exit slip the day that we took this. And then you can say, great, so here's an example of someone else's work, and let's talk about...
you might want to use a black whiteboard marker.
Oh, okay.
Just so it shows up.
Let's talk about what we see in this work. And so you'll have someone read the problem, you'll read this, and then you'll basically identify where the Dr. E or whatever you're calling it happens. And one of the things you're going to notice is that like the do it isn't written. This is what they would have typed into the computer, right? And so you're going to see here the retell, right? The explain, and the write the right answer. And you might even have kids like do a little bit of this work on their own first at the carpet and then compare it to this. Or at least give them some time to think through this problem before you just dive into looking at someone else's work. But the basic idea is to look at some exemplars before we start asking kids to do it on their own. Any questions about that? So this one is what I would consider a real exemplar. Like this is a good answer. And then you can have a conversation about this one and talk about what it's missing and why it's not great. And honestly, if you guys have seen other like habits that really are across the board that you want to change this to reflect a bad habit you want to have a conversation with about, by all means, feel free to do it. Okay? And so then it's time to work. The IP for this is fairly short because they're constructed responses. So it's only 4 questions. No, I think it's even 3 because basically like it takes a lot of time to do these and write them out. All right, great. We can pause it.